attention to matters of election. And we know that there was an IPAC meeting that was convened by the Electoral Commission, and IPAC is just the Inter-Party Advisory Council. It's just the ad hoc body that, of course, has been constituted to make sure there's a forum for which the political parties tend also to dialogue with the Electoral Commission in many respects, especially on matters of elections and issues governing elections. And we know the New Patriotic Party, following a press conference, had raised issues about concerns they have about names of certain people who number over 70,000 in Ghana's voters register. And some of these names, according to what they proved at the press conference, have been replicated in the same voter register of the Togolese. Now, following that, the NDC also convened a press conference, and the General Secretary of the party even went to the extent of saying that the MPP, in many respects, was trying to look at issues tribally, and it was something that was very much symptomatic of the party as well. Well, we've had veteran journalist Kweku Baako in the news and current affairs political talk program over the weekend, news file, reacting and saying that the General Secretary's reaction really were bordering on intellectual incompetence in trying to argue how we tend to delineate issues of what is wrong and what is right. I have to say. I have to start with you on that very subject.
Which General Secretary is he talking about?
Sidin Ketia.
I wonder why he should be saying that, because...
well, he feels that, well, it's an issue that needs to be dealt with because it's a voters register. They feel that there's a problem with it. They would want a new one to be compiled. It's not because they hate certain people in a certain region. Far from
but you see, that is sometimes the kinds of subjective statements we make which eventually appear in the eyes of people as if they are objectives. You know, they are objective statements. With all due respect to my good friend Kweku Baako, I think that if the MPP had the right to complain about the voter register and go ahead to say we want a new register, it's a cost to the government. It's also a vexating issue. And if we think that, well, there's no need for a new register, but let us clean up this one, add onto it, subtract from it. We also have the right to say so. So if the MPP General Secretary has the right to complain, or their chairman or their flag bearer has the right to complain, and our General Secretary has the right to complain, I mean, the two should be taken on board by the Electoral Commission and weighed side by side and understand exactly what we are going to do to ensure that everybody is happy. But if you condemn one side, one opinion, I don't know exactly what he said. He's a very objective man, and I admire him for his presentations. He may not have said exactly what you are saying, but...
Well, what he said was the General Secretary of the party was not looking at it from an objective point of view, because bringing in the issue of the tribalism,
that was the issue that
was just trying to just mar
to bring is that anger.
No, but the thing is
said,
that I mean, he says that they have
every right to say
no. He says that to bring the issue about the tribalism, regionalism, and things. I was just trying to.
It was the basis upon which some MPP people were arguing. That people came from Volta, and some of them are Togolese to come and vote. Their names are in the register. They are this, that. I mean, if you begin segregating and dividing Ghanaians between those who come from Togo, those who don't come from that, those who come from Burkina Faso, then you begin to question the legitimacy of people living in this country. And some regions where they come from will feel bad about it. You know, coming from the Volta region, and then I come to vote, legitimately I'm a Ghanaian, but because of the suspicion hanging around it that I may be coming from Togo, every single person coming from there is a suspect, and that is going to have a direct effect on the people there. So we are saying that, look, don't raise those issues. Raise other issues about the register, but if you begin talking about how certain kinds of people coming from Boko, oh, you are coming from Burkina Faso, coming from Togo, or sorry, Volta region or Aflao, then you must be coming from Togo. It's going to introduce a certain dimension or dynamism in our politics, which is going to create a problem for us. Let's even ask for a new register without assigning those kinds of specific reasons that is going to hurt the feeling and sensitivity of people. So I think our General Secretary was right on the point. It's better to mention it now for us to be cautious about it than to go forward for us later on to regret that we've introduced something which we don't like to see. And to that extent, I think that General Mosquito, Asedun Ketia, was right to raise the issues.
We know issues of tribes, ethnicism and regionalism are thorny issues and very sensitive issues as far as when it borders on the politics of our country. But at what point do we have to look at the issues objectively and not subjectively?
You see, Roland, if anybody threw up that kind of, as it were, a statement without bringing out an evidence, then you will say, oh, the person perhaps wants to touch on, ethnicity or tribalism.
Well, the allusion was that you have 76,000, being only 10% of the work you have done and on comparison between Ghana and Togo's register.
Right.
And as a result of that, you have identified certain areas, notably close to the border regions between Ghana and Togo.
Absolutely.
Which is an indication that people within those areas, really, many of them tend to register for Ghana and Togo.
Just went ahead to say that even there's a work being done on the western border as well, and then the northern border. So it wasn't like it was just about Aflao or Togo. Because in Baumier's presentation, he did indicate that work is still going on in the western region, the northern part of the country, which borders on. So for you to just single and say, oh, it is...
you think it was deliberate?
I think so. I think so. So to shift the whole attention from a register that was not, which is flawed, and then shift the thing into, oh, you don't like the people, that's why you are saying this.
The MPP's argument about the non-credibility of the electoral register we have now.
Yeah.
Which of the points should we considerably be taking into account and making sure that we tend to improve, or as a result of that, based on those points, and say we want to compile a new register before 2016?
You see, for me, if as a country, for any government, for any other government, you have as many as, assuming eventually we got about 2,000 people who are unaccounted, coming in suddenly when a budget has been drawn, albeit, I mean, if the Ghanaians, they say they are Ghanaians, but we don't know them on our normal this thing, and they suddenly come in when the government had prepared its budget based on the statistics that it had. For me, it's bad for any government, planning for housing, for health. You need to know what you are planning for the next year. How many houses that you need for your citizens? When apparently there are some 2,000 people just living across the border who come in to. So for me, we need to look at this dispassionately, because at the end of the day, governments will come, government will go. So we shouldn't just be looking at it as politically wanting to win power, whether for MPP or NDC or CPP, or that as a country, should we have some citizens just across the border, as many as 2 million people who will come in after you've prepared your budget, knowing that you have so many people in your citizens, you are planning your health, your education, your housing, all the planning that goes into your budget. Then suddenly you have such a huge number that comes in. I mean, we all knew what happened when our brothers and sisters came suddenly from Nigeria. You had to be,
back in the 80s?
Back in the 80s. Right. The government had to really...
The argument you're making, I wanted to ask you whether how that's plausible, how even that comes in at all, because whether or not they are just coming to vote and go back. So they're only using papers in many respects.
Who knows? Because
I know it may border on issues of budget, but I want to ask you, realistically, you're a politician, you have so much experience, you've been in government for some time. You have observed our political dispensation for decades, or let's say a number of years. Do you think you politicians, or the topmost political parties, really are guilty of having people across border towns tend to register either way? Have you observed that? Do you think there could be an inclination like that?
No, what I observe is that lots of people are flocking into Ghana who are not Ghanaians. And they find their target regions in Ashanti and Greater Accra, realistically.
Why?
Those are the places they think they can find jobs.
Because of trade and commerce, you say?
Yeah. And as for those ones at the borders, they are very, very temporary, visitors. But the reality is that Ashanti and Greater Accra have been growing in bigger populations, not because of Ghanaians necessarily, but also because we have lots of foreigners coming in. The moment they come in, Ghana as we are, and they are able to pick one or two English words or Akan or Hausa words, finish. They speak Ghanaian. You find them in the mosques, you find them in the churches, and that is it. When they are registering, they go to register. Now, if you want to do a comprehensive analysis of how people come in, who are supposed to vote and who are not supposed to vote, you'll realize that those at the borders are the least to be worried about. The major challenges are in the regions. I mean, the two big regions, with Eastern and Western region and Northern region following on the back of the two big regions. So you have this challenge to deal with, and I think that the problem is wider than we are seeing. It borders on economics, it borders on commerce, it borders on the livelihood of people, it borders on economic refugees, which then have a trickling effect and balloons into our body politic.
Why not a new voters register? What's wrong with it? What's the fear?
I don't have any problem if we have to do a voter register. But I think also that a voter register is as new as if we display it and clean it up.
So it means what? So you're saying if the MPP feel they have suspected 76,000 and over people within a certain area or scattered around certain polling stations, they should just make sure they do the right, go through the law, the processes of the law, and get them expunged? We
have all these people, all the polling stations in our hands, documented in our hands. We can go on case by case. If the voter register is displayed, it's biometric. Get all the people. If you think that there's somebody there who is not properly registered or who shouldn't be registered, and clean it up. And let's add on to the new ones. I mean, let's add the new ones onto it. Those growing young people who are now up to the age, they should come and register again. So we can, at the end of it, when all are done, when all these things are done, we can then see a new register. So we can do it in two ways. Do a fresh, throw away this one and do a fresh one, or clean up the existing one and add on to it. And I think the second one is the best option, because I see VCRA C-Crap, making that point. He's a very renowned personality. He's had it before. He's been an electoral commissioner before. He's been a justice. He's one of the most respected individuals I've ever come across in this country.
Okay.
So that point he made is very important. But let me tell you, the MPP, I think they should also be consulting some of their elders. Elders such as Alhaji Bin Sali, who is in WA, and the others, who have seen elections, have seen the party from west to from the valleys of defeat to the glories it had in the past. They should consult them before they come out to make statements and then later on buckle and say, well, to begin modifying those kinds of statements. They should consult their elders. It's important.
Now, you wrap up for me, because even following this, we have even Nana Akufo-Addo Agyemang, the former First Lady, saying that we need a total electronic data to access...
at times, when you want to do renovation, it might cost you more than putting up a new structure.
And this applies to this
And
one,
this applies to this
one. Renovation is going to be more expensive.
It's going to be more expensive. more time, because we've been told that anytime the exhibition of voter register, about 10% of us, all of us, go to even...
why not just intensify public education to get a lot more people to go and check? That's all. I mean, that's
you know what
that would be a fraction of the money you use. Actually, a fraction of the money you use to re-register, to do anyone.
I understand, but the point is that when at the end of the day, you even get 20% of the people going to work, what have you done?
Enough.
It's not enough.
Well,
going to even clean up and say, oh, my relative is dead or whatever, people will not go.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And James Apietuankra is a former member of parliament for Lower West Achim. And thanks for joining me, sir. He's also a member of the MPP as well. He's actually a deep-seated public opinion person in this constituency. And thanks for joining me. Okay. And also Dr. Rashid Pelpo is a Minister of the Presidency, responsible for private sector and the PPPs. And thanks for joining me, sir. I hope you have a good Monday.
Thank you.
All right. Enjoy.